So today I want to talk about reflection. It's kind of one of those things that you're always cognizant about. You're always looking back on what you've accomplished, or maybe not. And that's something that I've done throughout my life. I think I've strived for greatness in a lot of the things that I've done, but never really took the time to look back at the joy that some of those things did. It was always like another checklist or another tick off the box, another hat, as Christian said, that you can wear. But as I grow older and the topic of reflection comes in, I'm turning 40 in a week. So it's one of those things where I really took the time to look back at some of the stuff that I've done and really been a part of a lot of great things. So as I said, I'm turning 40 in a week. One of the things that recently happened is my dad got diagnosed with brain cancer, and it really puts things in perspective. It's one of those, didn't think it would hit me as hard as I did. It's not like we didn't have a great relationship. He just lives in Toronto. We're kind of distant. But when you look at that and you think about some of the great relationships you have, and some of the things that I've accomplished, where playing in a band, starting the Goodwill, working with the guys from the Den, working with my partners from Forward. These are all things where it really makes you take pride in the things that you've built. When things are fleeting, you really start to find the joy in everything that you're doing. I lived in New York for a while, and it sounds great. We would travel to Hawaii all the time, which sounds great. But I remember sitting in Hawaii at the top of that Hawaii 5.0 building, or 5.0, and just sitting there, and this bartender sees all these tourists come in, and everyone's like, this must be great. You're looking over the ocean, you're looking you have to go surfing every day. And the guy looked at me and he was like, this is my own personal Alcatraz. He was just like, I cannot get off this island. I feel trapped. And I was like, holy crap, I totally feel the same way. I couldn't get a plane ticket home, or if I did go home, then I'd be called right back. You're constantly stuck there. But that was a place and a time. And now I look back on those memories super fondly. There was things that I don't think most people had done. Following an aircraft, we had a chase plane following this massive jet and flying over the islands and really taking it all in. But in those moments in time, you just don't feel those things. I don't know if this is moving. Yep. You can go to quick fix. So one of the things is when you're feeling those moments where everything is kind of melancholy, there's no quick fix. And that's okay. You can sit in those feelings. You can really feel those blocks, those kind of challenges. There's no shortcut out. But it's the things that really push you forward, those challenges that make you stronger and make you have a creative outlook on the way that you're going to face these problems, these roadblocks, these writer blocks, even coming up with concepts. There is no quick fix. And those are things that inherently make the creative process more sincere, more authentic. When we were creating the Goodwill, we thought that it was going to be the best bar that ever existed in Winnipeg. We thought that the collective of us could make something that was really, really great. Within our first month, we were just getting sorry, I'm a huge swear, but we were just getting shit canned. So it was you're trying to do something that has been done in a different way, and people don't really want to accept that. And one of my business partners said, the first one through the wall always gets the most bruised. And that really resonated with me, in that we were trying to create something that was completely different, with inclusive concepts, nationally recognized, bringing in bigger acts, doing things that Most places weren't doing at the time. And we just really had to be patient with the way that it built, because it built those stronger connections. It really helped us build that community. Like I think about, we were doing something with the Den the other day where we were doing a brand persona, and we were trying to figure out this one sort of person that existed in the brand. And as I'm writing it for the copywriter, I'm kind of thinking of someone I know. And the thing was like, this is the person that if you're in a group of new people, you kind of have to preface them. Like, yeah, they're kind of an asshole, but like, you just have to get to know them. They're like, once you get talking to them, they're in depth with knowledge, but they're always the kind of person that you're like hiding. You're kind of like turning your back to them a little bit, but they're the ones who are enriching your lives. Like they're the characters that really build this story. You can switch to the next slide, please. Like those type of characters are the people that bring you moments of joy, because they say these off-color things or things that you would typically be like, I don't know about that. Like those are the people who bring you those moments of joy, the people that like really add value into your life and see and possibly challenge your worldviews. At the start of the summer, I was driving home and about to go back into the house, and I was just sitting there, and it was like a perfect summer day, and I had like the perfect music on, and I thought to myself, this is it. I'm happy. I'm like super, super happy. And at the same time, I'm thinking the other shoe's gonna drop, and it's okay when the other shoe drops. Like you're never gonna have that perfect, pristine life, or even have that perfect idea or that perfect concept for a campaign, or things don't always just continue on that upward trajectory. There's the highs and lows. You really have to take your time with it. And like that being said, I am the worst for taking my time. That's not me. I think that like I'm the biggest procrastinator, and I rush to get everything out. Like this presentation is an example. But like reflecting back on those things, like now, we'll all have a laugh later or now about like these things. And those are like moments that you can appreciate, even though they're just maybe mundane. You can look back and think that, those were really cool things. When I was living in New York, I always found myself going to the Hudson River and just standing there. It's a super isolating place. It's really, really busy. And I just was I would feel really low, and all of a sudden I was just going to the river. And then one day it dawned on me, it's the only place in New York where you can see the horizon. And obviously being from the prairies, the horizon is all around us. And it's one of those things that was just really a touchstone. So as you're seeing, like I lived on the 49th floor, and you're just overlooking Times Square. It's just hustle and bustle. But those moments of just like escapism, where you can actually have that creative thought, reflect on the things that really make things authentic. One of the things that I really strive and struggle with is like the idea of being the best right away. So that goes to, doing things really quickly. I don't necessarily want to put in the steps to get up to where I need to be. I thought everything should happen really fast. And I was very hyper-controlled. Everything was black and white. Like when we had a massive team, I was very controlled in the way that I micromanaged. And, I wanted to be an asshole. I thought that was the best thing to do. Like you lead through like hard control. And Donovan, who was one of my business partners in the Goodwill, he may say, I'm still an asshole. I don't know. But those are things that like you have to be able to relinquish control and let things happen. And when you do let things happen, you start to see things from other sides, you build empathy, and these are all genuine traits. When I get really stressed out, one of my, maybe we'll call it like a toxic trait, is I like to just throw things into chaos. When I'm spinning, I want to see everything else spin. And I think chaos is fun. Like, that goes back to a moment of joy, where like when you're watching yourself spin out and then you can kind of have that ripple effect, it's fun for me, but that's not healthy. That's not a great way. That's not a great way to control the situation. However, the chaos of life is great. Everything comes in, everything has motion, everything is reflective. When you're looking at data and analytics, there's chaos in that. How do you interpret that? How do you bring that into something that's meaningful for someone else? You're putting all of this like madness into something that is tangible and relatable, and you just kind of have to give it up to things are going to happen, and it's how you interpret it in the way that you approach these situations. Again, with like the control aspect, there's the whole compare and despair. When I wanted to strive for greatness, when I wanted to be the best lacrosse player, best rugby player, it was always like, who do I compare myself to? And how do I make them the enemy? The idea of that like transfers over into business, where you look at non-collaborative endeavors, where you're looking at someone as if they're the enemy and what is theirs is mine and I have to go out and get it. It's one of those things where you're constantly comparing, and when you talk to some of those people or you meet your enemy, you realize that you're all in this together. Like, the idea of LinkedIn is a great tool, but it's a massive hellscape because everyone's projecting what they want you to see. And like, I think it's an amazing tool for business to business to like stay connected, but oftentimes I find myself thinking, why do they have that? Why can't I have that? And then you realize that everyone is putting themselves out there in the way that they want them to see it. It's LinkedIn for business or Instagram for business. They're like really curating these things, and you know, when you have these conversations with people, you realize that they're projecting their idealized versions. So it's easy to look at someone else's work and success as greatness, but really there's so much struggle or challenges that go behind that really take a lot of reflection to put that onto paper. You also have to be okay with the pains and gains. One of the things that we talked about in the first slides were journaling. I thought journaling was the biggest crock of shit. I don't want to sit down. I don't want to write my thoughts down. I don't ever want to look back on them. That was where I was at, where I just think that like having this stream of consciousness onto a piece of paper doesn't make sense to me. However, when my dad got diagnosed with cancer, we were on our way out to Folk Fest. And my girlfriend Catherine and I were sitting in the parking lot at Costco when I got the call. And she's very sympathetic to the way that I'm feeling. You know, I'm bawling. And then all of a sudden I'm just, stop. Let's go to Costco. Let's get a hot dog. Let's just walk through. And Catherine's like, are you sure? I'm like, no, I need to go experience the chaos of Costco. Like as I'm spinning out, I want to watch other people spin out over hot dogs, over pizza, over like the coolest Costco sweater. But those are things that like, it's not journaling, but you're kind of looking at all of these things in different perspectives and experiencing all other people's emotions. That being said, that day we ended up going to watch a show at Folk Fest, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the music was just right, the weather was just right, and I started journaling and I started writing my thought and penned a letter to myself and my dad in this situation. And that's what I needed to get it out. I needed to have that like stream of consciousness onto a piece of paper. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it. I feel like that would just give me secondhand embarrassment. But the idea of it was very therapeutic at the time. And these are the things that like even though you may not reflect back onto that, you can reflect back onto the feeling of writing them all down. And the same goes for, again, like having a piece of artwork, like sitting in those moments, embracing them, and then turning that into something really meaningful as an outcome. With having the ability to sit in those feelings and really experience that, possibly putting other people into chaos or going and experiencing the chaos, reflection is ultimately an exercise in empathy. When you can actually see all sides of the problem and know what that feels like and have felt that way, it may not be the same situation, but you have been at least sympathetic to the way that someone's feeling, or just in general understanding. There's all of these things that can come out of it. I speak from like a marketing background, so you think about all the tearjerker commercials. There's a copywriter there who has gone through something, who put that to paper. Ultimately, the goal is to sell toilet paper, but they experience what it's like to have bad toilet paper. Get that 4-ply. The idea of it is that you're building that connection and that you can put something out there that will eventually resonate and be something that is about life evolution. And I know like reflection and the idea of evolving is sort of a contrived platitude, but it's really great to look back on these things and think that like I've done that and this is how I felt. This is something that like may be mundane at the time, but may be crucial into a thought that you're putting out there and putting forward. When we embrace the bad with the good, it really is part of the creative problem, and those things are what really build strong advertising campaigns, strong creative, strong art. Like when people say they don't understand art, well, they don't have a connection, they don't have that feeling that the artist had. And those are things that like can make or break a good creative execution. It's an ongoing transformation, and again, there's no quick fix to any of this. It's just growing and being okay with the ups and downs and ride that roller coaster.